WWE and NXT superstars are counting down the days for when their contract ends so they can join AEW. Next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's all out. So, Ralph, we've seen Jon Moxley leave WWE and go to AEW.
Yep.
We've seen Dustin Rhodes do the same thing. We've heard many people wanting to leave WWE and go to AEW. Meltzer obviously reporting that this is a huge thing, a huge problem with the WWE roster is a lot of people have even inquired about joining AEW to the point where Stephanie McMahon had a meeting with NXT guys saying how, you know, WWE is where you can push your own brand and social media is such a big thing. And if you leave WWE, your career is over.
Yep.
Really? This seems pretty bold allegations here from Meltzer if this is all true.
Sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, I think a lot of this is going to be speculation. I know Dave Meltzer, obviously, he's worked in the industry, the journalism industry for quite some time. He's been covering wrestling for a very long time. I'm sure he has his connections and I'm sure he hears about all these people being disgruntled. But at the same time, to kind of say, oh yeah, all these people want out, it just seems like a lot of innuendo and a lot of speculation.
Right, right.
End. I think you can point to any one wrestler and say, you know what? I mean, what did we hear? Rumors of going back 5 months ago. Oh, Randy Orton wants out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I read a report recently that Randy Orton got offered a contract and he turned it down. And now people are saying, oh, does he want to go to AEW? Maybe he wants to go to AEW. Maybe he just doesn't want to wrestle anymore. I mean, he's been doing it for however long, you know?
Long time.
Anytime you hear about somebody that's disgruntled or you hear about somebody that wants the release or you hear about somebody that's going to be a free agent, the automatic assumption since the announcement of AEW is that this person is going to go to AEW. Now, does that mean that there's people within WWE that are not disgruntled? Of course not. I mean, I'm sure there's people there that feel like they're underutilized. I'm sure there's people there that hear the rumblings from the fans and hear the rumblings from the dirt sheets and everybody saying how poor the show has been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very hard to ignore. And I'm sure that, you know, people within the wrestling industry that work at that company that have been doing this in their entire life, they can look at the show and they'll be able to tell, like, you know, people are being underutilized. The show isn't very good. Now, does that mean they're going to leave and go to AEW? I don't think we can necessarily jump to that conclusion, not yet at least.
Right. Now, one tag team that was rumored to be one of these that were jumping ship from WWE to AEW was Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, who appeared earlier this week on Monday Night Raw. And now there was a report earlier this week saying that they've actually re-signed their WWE contracts. Now, these would obviously be ones that people say are underutilized. But at the same time, maybe they're complacent and they're happy where they are right now.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting a good paycheck. They're supporting their families. You know, they see them a lot more because they're not on TV as much, but still run house shows. So it's not like they're not doing anything like let's say a Luke Harper, for instance, who is just getting paid to sit at home, or a Rhino, or, you know, some of those guys. So I think also just the fact that someone is booked, quote unquote, badly doesn't necessarily mean that that particular wrestler wants to leave WWE, because maybe behind closed doors or behind the curtain, WWE treats them fine. It's just what you guys see on television is completely different.
Yeah.
You know? So, and of course, a lot of this, like you said, anytime it's rumored that their contract's coming up or rumor that they want out, it's like they want to leave to go to AEW. How about the Revival?
Yeah.
The Revival's another example. Oh, they asked for their release. They've been tag team champions twice since they supposedly requested their release. And I've been on TV a fair amount. Now, has it been good? Not all the
so
time,
much,
but at least they're on television.
Yeah.
So
last night on Raw was probably the best position they've been in quite some time, because granted they were in Shane McMahon's little posse, but just having them dressed up and having them have a little bit of confidence in the way they positioned themselves, the way they presented themselves, it made them feel like a special team and not just like, oh, we're going to make them the pun or the backside of a joke for the Usos, and they weren't positioned where they were in corny bits throughout the show.
Right.
They made them feel special for the first time probably since they've been called up, in my opinion. And the other thing that that apparently was discussed in this meeting that Stephanie McMahon had with the talent was the branding aspect of it. WWE will do more for you. It's going to give you a platform to brand yourself.
I think that it's both true and false.
It is true in the sense that WWE will give them credibility because you're working for the number one promotion within the wrestling industry. But at the same time, look what the elite and members of the elite have been able to accomplish by branding themselves using social media outside of WWE.
But not even that. They talk about, you could build your own brand in WWE. Except the fact that they can't even keep the name that they built in WWE because WWE owns the trademarks.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if you saw Kelly's interview with Chris Van Vliet this week.
I did. Yep.
Okay. So she mentioned that she could not even use her real name in WWE because they could not trademark the name Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
That should show you right there. Like, yes, in a way you could build your brand because look at Moxley.
Yeah.
John Moxley built his brand and his credibility in WWE, and he probably wouldn't be the biggest name in wrestling right now if it wasn't for his departure from WWE and what he did there before he left. But, he had to basically create a whole new persona again. Yes, It was one that he had before he went to WWE with John Moxley, but, there's some people out there that they try to create new personas and people just remember them for their name that they had in WWE, but it's WWE's branding.
Right.
And let's not forget, anytime there's the championships, it's always about the logo. The logo is the biggest aspect of the championship titles. So, and first and foremost, the brand of WWE is the priority, which, I mean, it should be. It's the business, and any business should be that way. McDonald's, at the end of the day, McDonald's is the brand, but the Big Mac people know. If the Big Mac walked to Burger King, it wouldn't be called the Big Mac. So I get what they do, but at the same time, why can't they be able to build their own brand? And when they leave, that's the brand that they had. They built the brand. WWE may have had their hand in it, but...
Well, I don't agree with that. If I'm a smart businessman and I'm Vince McMahon, you're damn right. I'm not allowing anybody... I'm never going to let Stone Cold Steve Austin walk away from my company with the Stone Cold Steve Austin personality and the name and the moniker and everything.
But he has the name.
Well, he may, but I'm just saying someone of that caliber. That's why Vince McMahon does these things. I mean, you can essentially use the WWE platform to brand yourself and build yourself up, but you're damn right you're going to be signing a whole ton of paperwork saying, you know what, if you decide, hey, I'm going to go to AEW, I'm going to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're not going to go there with your name. You're not taking the character. You're not taking the name. You're not going to walk onto an AEW show as Gold Dust. We're going to keep that character. And that's probably a result of, some of the things that happened with the Monday Night Wars in WCW. So, characters going back and forth. Let's not forget they tried to sue Hall and Nash, right? Because they were essentially saying they went over there, they took their characters, and I don't think they ended up winning that, obviously.
No, I don't think so.
That's just Vince McMahon kind of protecting
his creations,
his partial creations, but back to my point that I was just making. So you can brand yourself within the confines of whatever WWE is going to allow you to brand yourself as.
Yes.
There are people who have used that, like The Rock and Batista, and they've probably become even bigger stars outside of the WWE, but that's only because they were kind of able to use the WWE platform to become famous to begin with. But that's not every single person that's going to happen.
Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis, but let's think about someone like a Ricochet, for example.
Sure.
Ricochet built his name in the independent circuit, in New Japan, in Mexico, and, he was Ricochet before he came to WWE. Yeah. He was able to keep his name in WWE. Now, what if WWE trademarks the name Ricochet and he leaves?
I know.
They steal his brand.
The Dudley Boys, they really were the Dudley Boys, I think, in ECW before they came to the WWE. Right. And then once they got to the WWE, they couldn't and left. They had to become Team 3D. They can't use the name the Dudley Boys. True. And that pisses them off. There's actually a podcast you can listen to where Bubba Ray actually goes in detail about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just really WWE protecting themselves. You know, if you're going to use that name outside of the WWE, you're probably either going to get sued or you're going to pay some type of copyright fees and make sure they're going to collect their royalties.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, I don't know exactly how it works, but if you choose to leave the WWE and they still sell your T-shirts, you still get X amount until, you know, they pay a certain amount out. However,
I think that's part of the whole 90-day no compete. I think if you ask for your release or your release before your contract's out, all the merchandise, you don't get the merchandise royalties. Mm-hmm. I think Moxley was explaining this because he actually let his contract run out.
Yeah,
he gets the royalties for whatever pay-per-views are, you know, bought and merchandise is sold with Dean Ambrose.
Yeah,
he still gets that royalty, whereas Sean Spears might lose out on that because he was granted his release.
Sure.
Same with Hideo Itami. So,
well,
and go back to the other thing that was mentioned in this from Meltzer was if you leave WWE, your career's over. Moxley's career is over. Sean Spears' career is over. Kenta's career is over. I think they've actually rejuvenated themselves because they left WWE.
It remains to be seen what happens with AEW. If AEW ends up being a smashing success and stands the test of time, which has always been the thing with WWE. There's been other companies that have come along, the ECWs, the WCWs. WCW is the only one to actually, you know, punch Vince McMahon in the stomach and beat him at his own game. But are they going to last? And are they going to build credible characters like a Goldberg and, you know, the NWO? Are they going to have original characters like that where, you know, who knows, maybe 10 years down the road, AEW, if they're still competing against WWE, you have some of their top guys who decide, okay, we're going to WWE now. Granted, that feels special, but, you know, that's just kind of an example of what can happen if AEW is successful. But we have to see what happens. It hasn't happened since WCW went out of business.
Right. And that was, you know, almost 20 years ago. Right. So it's definitely something to definitely consider. So at the end of this all, do you think there is some truth to some of these, and even like the NXT guys?
Yeah.
I think this is the really eye-opening one because I think with NXT, those guys are booked pretty well. And, you know, they're branded pretty well and they're put in good positions where I don't see why they would want to leave WWE or NXT. Yeah. And I think it's more the WWE guys. But now that Meltzer's putting in NXT guys as well, do you even see anybody from NXT actually thinking, you know what, maybe AEW is a better move?
It's tough because I think the NXT guys who are actually younger see more opportunity to getting to the top in AEW. They see it as a quicker ascent to the top of to a championship or to stardom. I think because when you look at the lay of the land in WWE, think about how long maybe it took some of the stars to actually reach that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, granted, right now there are a lot of guys at the top that are that came through NXT. Obviously, Seth Rollins is one of them. Becky Lynch is another one.
Roman,
Daniel
Charlotte.
Bryan. Yeah, I mean they're there. But it took some of them a long time to get to that point, and some of them it happened sooner rather than later. But I think that some of these guys look at AEW as a fresh product, and they see all the success they're having. They see the news. They see all the news that comes out about the sellouts. And they also see the negative things that get reported, because one of the things that I always notice is whenever they talk about the success of AEW, whenever a journalist or there's something published that's positive about AEW, they talk about how poorly the WWE is in that very same article. So if you're AEW, you love when people write those things because you're getting kind of the rub from that journalist or that person who's writing that particular news piece, and they're saying, hey, look, there's this other wrestling company that started up. They're going to be competition to the WWE. And oh, by the way, there's workers who are in WWE that are disgruntled. The ratings have slipped. The Q1 where they didn't necessarily hit their revenue goals. All those things, they always keep getting brought up. So if you're AEW, you're happy as a pig in shit because those things, you know, you're getting your name out there, and you're also getting to shit on WWE indirectly.
True.
The part that I don't buy into is the idea that you can't brand yourself outside of WWE.
No.
While you certainly have the opportunity to do that because, you know, they're worldwide, mass appeal, it's WWE, so it's the top wrestling brand in the world. Again, look at what the Elite has done. Look at what some of these guys on the independent scene, they've been able to really brand themselves on social media. There's people that are YouTube famous that have millions and millions of followers. They do that by themselves. They don't need like a platform like a TV show or WWE or Fox Sports 1. They just do it.
Right.
So,
I mean, granted, there's a lot more eyeballs to the WWE product with the amount of subscribers they have, the amount of followers. What do they keep boasting? A billion followers all over their social media platforms. And I keep bringing up that they're like the 7th or 8th most subscribed YouTube channel. So I get what Stephanie's saying, if that is true, what she's saying. But, obviously we have Cody that has his YouTube channel. Being the Elite is its own YouTube channel. Sammy Guevara has his own YouTube channel with tens of thousands. Even I'm not exactly sure what his total is, but at least in the 10,000s subscribers. Major League Wrestling has their following on YouTube, and you see guys like MJF there and Sammy Callahan there, who's not in AEW, but still, that's a guy that has gotten his name across throughout Impact Wrestling through social media. Look what Moxley did. I mean, when he dropped that video at midnight when his contract officially ran out, he dropped that video. It lit the wrestling industry and the wrestling world on fire. Right. And you think about the build to Double or Nothing. You think about the build that is going on right now to All Out. They didn't have a TV show. They didn't necessarily have a platform other than YouTube. They did that built on being the Elite, and that's how they really built interest in it. And, Double or Nothing was a success. You look at the amount of people, like we talked about in our last show, 137,000 people supposedly in the queue waiting to try and buy tickets. Yep. Bigger than anything that WWE has ever done. Mm-hmm. Now, even if those numbers are exaggerated, say it was 70,000. Those are still really impressive numbers for a wrestling match, or wrestling show, especially if you don't have weekly television. Right. So I don't buy the fact that, if you work for WWE, you can brand yourself, and you can't really do that outside the WWE. And of course, the one thing that people, anti-AEW fans, are saying they're just a t-shirt company. What's one thing that a t-shirt company has to do to sell t-shirts? Brand. Exactly.
And look at Hot Topic. They essentially, they sold out of how many Bullet Club t-shirts, or how many New Japan t-shirts, or how many, there's one right here. But those were always the top sellers. Right. And it's not like, again, they don't have a weekly television show. They're essentially just branding. Well, New Japan does and all of that. I'm just talking about the Elite. They were able to really brand themselves through YouTube and being the Elite in that channel. So, you don't need WWE, and you don't need the billion followers to really brand yourself and make yourself marketable.
That's true. So let us know in the comments what you think of Meltzer's report saying that WWE and NXT wrestlers want to leave to go to AEW. And, let us know in the comments which ones you want to see in AEW. Don't forget to like this video, share it all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. Subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psycho Babble.